In 2022, the Rippaverse launched with Item Number 1. Written by company founder Eric July, illustrated by Cliff Richards, the book eventually would become a $3.7 million success. The following year, comic book veterans Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett would join the team and create a $1 million success of their own with Alpha Core Number 1. And in 2024, the highly anticipated Yaira by the Saska sisters and Deborah Carita became the third Rippaverse property to make $1 million in total sales. Isom, Alpha Core, and Yaira have cemented their place as mainstays for this fast-growing indie publisher. Now you can grab our first ever collected works, the Rippaverse Trinity Volume 1. This 300-plus page book features Isom Number 1, Alpha Core Number 1, and Yaira Number 1. And Isom has been officially remastered with updated art from Cliff and colors from the new series colorist, Sebastian Cheng. Also, all 3 books have upgraded letters, so you're getting more than just a mere reprint. Head over to Rippaverse.com and order the Rippaverse Trinity Volume 1. Available as both a trade paperback and hardcover.
What up, what up, what up, what up, everybody? We're live on a random Saturday. Puppy dogs are barking. I got 3 dogs here right now. So, man, a lot has happened since I last chat with you guys. We've launched what you just saw, the Rippaverse Trinity Volume 1. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Some other things that I got kicking as well. We'll have some more announcements. We're really just kind of getting started, even though it's the middle of December. So expect some other special things as well. But we did get that collection off that I said that I wanted to get soon enough. That's why I purposely showed those statues at the beginning. The McFarlane Toys Yaira 6-scale statue, as well as the statue of Isom from Iron Studios. Both of those will actually be shipping sometime very soon, early next year. So if you have not already reserved yours, go grab those. Obviously you can see how they came out. It's incredible. And yeah, it's just, I can't wait to see the unboxings and people actually, getting a hold of their statues and all of that good stuff. Do I want to start with the Rippaverse Trinity? I guess I can kind of talk about that. Hold on. All right. Yeah, let's start there. Okay. So the Rippaverse Trinity Volume 1, what this is, if you are curious, is it's our first collected works, right? So it's a big book. What you technically want to call it, omnibus, anthology, whatever. It collects Isom Number 1, Alpha Core Number 1, and Yaira Number 1. And we did this. Obviously, it's going to be very enticing. We'll talk about pricing and all that good stuff here in a bit to new readers. But they are our flagship heroes, and it's not because we decided that they were. It's because the audience did. They have been our most successful characters. Anything pertaining to merchandise with those characters on it, do the best with all the items that we've sold. So the audience dictated that. They've all had some crazy success with campaigns of their own, for sure. But we wanted to do a special little collection, our first ever collected works, because we published a lot in 2.5 years, right? So it's about time that we actually did that. Of course, Isom 1 it was the book that introduced all of you to these characters, right? Introduced you to Alpha Core, introduced you to Yaira, and in fact, Yaira Number 1 takes place right after. It deals with the events that happened in the middle of Isom Number 1, right? So Yeah, it's we got some shirts, we got some cool shirts. I'm going to talk about all that here in a bit. But when we did some, like, we're doing these collected works, we wanted to make sure that we don't just collect them just for the sake of collecting them, right? There needs to be a purpose. If there can be improvements to it, then that's what we're going to do. Now, this has improvements across the board as far as its letters are concerned. Really wanting to, we have obviously a new lettering. I won't say new lettering team. You guys saw a little bit of that in Yaira and some of the other books. So they've been here now, but obviously we've expanded in that department, if you will, and you're going to see some updated letters across the board with all of them, all three books. But the one that went through the most significant of the changes as far as how it looks is going to be ISOM number 1. Okay. Now, I posted this. You can go to my Twitter, you can go to my YouTube, you can go to my IG, Facebook, all that, giving you guys a little sneak peek of how it looks. As you can see, this is it's the same book, but it's different in terms of how it looks. Cliff went through and essentially remastered. Obviously, when we first did ISOM number 1, it was off the cuff. We had a very small team back then because we had no idea that the Rippaverse was going to explode in the way that it did. We didn't. This was not a crowd-funded book per se, because we didn't use funds to crowd fund it, and this wasn't a project that we got money from and then we started working on. We were done with this before you guys ever even knew what the Rippaverse was. Okay. So we launched, it had all this success. We put it out. But since then, we've added obviously a lot of new team members, right? Especially in the more creative and editorial role, Kanan being one of those. So that same kind of attention to detail and that editorial oversight, if you will, that was present in some of the later books that we put out was not present in ISOM number 1. Okay. So we use this as an opportunity, Cliff collaborating with Kanan and some of our other guys. We made some improvements. He went through, made some improvements on the inks for sure on it. And you will see that there are some details that are adjusted right on this book, but it's still the same book per se. As far as it's not like someone asked a question like which one's canon, which one isn't. It isn't like that. It isn't like like a different book. It's the same book, but it does look a little different. It's been refined and improved upon, right? So the main thing, though, one of the big things that we wanted to do with this book, we wanted to, for consistency's sake, give you a glimpse into the new series, the new ISOM series, Colorist, Sebastian Chang. Okay, so as you guys see here, these are different colors. Okay, Gabe, this has long been announced, so this isn't some breaking news or anything. Gabe has his own thing with Big Man Comics. Okay, he left voluntarily. This was something that he wanted to do, and he should have done, right? Because his brand was exploding. It was his own. He owned it, and he was like, "Look, I can dedicate time to this project, or I can strike while the iron is hot and continue to grow his brand with Big Man Comics," which I think all of you should go support. So we know that's going to happen from time to time. And I love that. I love that you're getting guys that are having some success with us or whatever. They have their own like ventures that they start, and then that kind of morphs. Sometimes it'll morph into something that's really successful, like what Gabe's is. And yeah, that's going to be what he wants to pay attention to more. So he's not going to be able to dedicate coloring hundreds of pages for us when he has his own brand that he needs to make sure that he built. So he let us know, like, hey man, it's understanding. I kind of got to step down from ISOM because I got Big Man Comics. Like, oh, all good. We still support them, and there's going to be other collaborative efforts that we're going to have in the future. So the Rippaverse, Gabe El Taib kind of collaboration, it didn't end. It's just that committing to our flagship book like this, one of our flagship books. With one of our main characters that not necessarily a main character, is a character that's in high demand. that we're producing all this content for. He just didn't have the time. So once he did that, we obviously got a new colorist in Sebastian Chang, and he's a different colorist, right? They have different styles, and we didn't want it to be so jarring, right? With the color change. So we use this opportunity, obviously, because we're remastering and all this stuff. Why don't we also have his new colors on it? This will be the first glimpse. He's a series colorist, right? So ISOM 3 as well and beyond, he's the colorist on it moving forward. So ISOM 3, you will see Sebastian Chang, if I hadn't made that clear, but this is your first glimpse at him, right? So it makes it a unique thing. So it's not just a mere reprint. We wanted to make our improvements where we could, but also again with ISOM 1, ISOM 3, you guys know is on the horizon, and it has a new series colorist, and then you guys get to finally check them out right here in the Rippaverse Trinity Volume 1. This is a little sneak peek into it, as you see. If you have the other book, the ISOM 1, or the one that you can get right here from the store, looks a little different. A little more refined background images as well, a little more thorough. We really loved how this thing turned out, man, and you guys are going to see it. It really, 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 we took it, as we should have. This is our opportunity to do so with this reprint, improved upon it where we could. And I don't think I've said this publicly, but there are some other, though albeit very minor, in Yaira as well as Alpha Core. Yes, the letters are new, but there's some minor art improvements as well. But they're just not as significant as ISOM 1, for example, which is essentially recolored, right? So you'll see some improvements elsewhere as well. And yeah, we got this up for you. Right now, you can pre-order it at Rippaverse.com. I have the link pinned in the comment section as well as in the description. So let's talk about the actual collection itself. Okay, so we have two versions of the book that you can get. There's a soft cover and there's a hard cover. Okay, collectors out there, you love those. Newbies love these. They love the collected works. We had a lot of tweets, for example, of people that maybe I'll show here. Newbies that were voicing like, okay, this is my jumping on point, because we got asked about this a lot, and this is really attractive, definitely for new customers that kind of want to get in on it. So you had some people. Let me see if I can show y'all real quick. Hold on just a second. Here we go. Like this here. Whoops, wrong one. So yeah, we got a couple here. So you got, like my man's here, he said, this is going to be my hopping on point too. He's just referring to another guy who also stated the same thing. He said, okay, I'm going to cop this and dive into your universe. I've been admiring your work ethic and art choice style for a while. Right. So you have guys that were looking at it from afar that are now jumping in on this. And this is going to be a very attractive way to get in on it. And this is, again, a big reason why we do some of these things. I mean, the awesome deal about, because we do that with some very, very minor conversations about, okay, well, what about X, Y, and Z? And, these other books that we need to come out with that people are asking about with new reading material. And I think that it's going to be very difficult for some people. And I've already long accepted this reality, because of like our colleagues and all that. There are folks that still look at us and have difficulty looking at us like a publisher and look at us more like a small team, like, because with traditional crowdfunders, as an example, definitely in this independent space that has kind of exploded over the last under a little under a decade, where it's really, really blown up. A lot of these people, there's 1, 2, 3-man teams, right? They're fulfilling stuff themselves as well, and the volume is going to be a little lower, and it takes time, right? Between projects, they're using this traditional crowdfunding. So they're using the funds to pay for the project, be it the other artists that are also associated with it, as well as like getting it shipped, obviously, and printed. So that stuff takes time, right? So they move from one project to another, and it can be rather slower, right? Well, we don't operate upon that model. So just because you see us doing one thing, such as something like this, does not mean that, let's say, ISOM isn't going to come, or Yaira isn't on the way, or some of the other works, which we'll have some announcements about very soon. It's not like that, right? It's when you are productive like this, and we are an actual publisher, and 2025 is going to be whiplash for some of y'all, because we're ramping up production like by a lot. There's going to be a lot of things as any other publisher, especially in comics, where they have, like, I don't know, tens of books that are going to be up for sale on a given week, right? We're ramping up our production as well. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. But it's a way, obviously, a big part of this is attracting new customers. We want to expand. We've had a lot of new customers added, as far as what our data is telling us, is new guys that have never purchased anything from us before. We had a lot of new guys here, right? Like I say, with us releasing more often, you're getting people that are buying outside of the more people that are buying outside of the pre-order window, right? So we want to make sure that we're continuing to attract new customers while also living up to the demand that we have for our regular customers. So this existing as an example doesn't mean that ISOM or something else isn't getting done, right? So we have the collected works, and we have someone that brought and I'll address this. This is actually, let me I think this is a good comment to go through real quick here, because I think he brings up a great point. As a member, actually, as well. He says, the channel has become boring. The comic book stuff is dope, but the entertainment value has greatly decreased. I'm still here, but it's clear that many have stopped tuning in. You're not wrong. Says, what happened to guest interviews, political commentary, and comic book commentary? Enrico, those days are over. Okay. And I don't knock you. I think there's a lot of people that share this sentiment right here, that, well, I came here because I wanted you to do your reviews. I wanted you to do all this commentary stuff. I wanted you to, that was what got you intrigued by some of the things that I'm doing. I was doing at the time. But yeah, I don't knock anybody for checking out because of that. They're like, okay, well, he's not doing these videos. He's only streaming once or twice a week. He's not doing those videos anymore, and you're not entertained. I don't knock that. We chime in from time to time. We got Ripping the Silverback, which is a big show that we have. I'll chime in every now and then on Tuesday night's main event. Political commentary, definitely, if that's something that you're interested in. I'm over at Blaze doing various shows there, and that's the kind of proper place. But as far as like what we're doing here, and a lot of what you're going to hear me talking about, is I'm not a commentator, man, anymore. I'm not a YouTuber, right, anymore. Those days are done. And I don't, but I want to be clear with what this guy is saying. I don't knock anybody for being like, I'm out, right? I'm not interested in this in this stuff. I'd rather hear you just chiming in and talking about stuff. Not knocking it. Not knocking it at all. I think that's a very fair assessment, especially if you got here for a different reason. But yeah, with the Rippaverse exploding the way that it is, I'm running a multi-million-dollar business. That's going to be my focus. And I can't even apologize for it. It's just the truth. I got to focus on that. I'm not a streamer anymore like that, where most of my time was dedicated to talking and commentating on other people's stuff. I'd much rather talk about stuff that I'm working on. I'd much rather talk about the company I'm owning. Much like anybody else that owns their own businesses, that's what they do. You look at McFarlane, for example, you can go to his Twitter or his Instagram right now, and all of his stuff is talking about McFarlane Toys, what they're doing, what new toy they're doing for somebody, what new things that they got going for Spawn or something like that. That's kind of in the vein of where I'm kind of moving towards, right? So there'll probably be a time where even less than what I'm doing right now, less of the commentary that I'm doing right now is going to it's going to be less in the future, right? So we've already significantly decreased it. In the future, it's going to be that way. And I get it. Like I said this when I did it. I was like, this is one of the worst things that I can do for my channel's sake. But that's not why we're doing it anymore, right? Like I'm in a new stage of my life, or rather my career, and I'm living a dream right now, being able to just create my own stuff. So yeah, I don't want to knock anybody for doing that. It's just something, if you watch my old videos, I called out long ago. It's like a lot of people didn't come here for me to be talking about my own things, but it's just a reality, man. I'm a businessman at the end of the day, and this does require a lot of my time. And yeah, doing political commentary all the time, comic book stuff, speaking on other people's comics and reviewing. Like, I think there's other people that are in the commentary space, in the political space, that's their main gig. We got my colleagues over at Blaze. You got some of the guys that float around my space, as far as, comic books, the related stuff, video game related things, as well as just other general pop culture commentary. The G&G team, Gary and Erotic As, right? These are guys that do this stuff full time, right? That's their main gig. It's not my main gig anymore. So yeah, it's I got comics to put out, and that's just the way that it is in the future. So yeah, a lot of people, it's not an insult to say that. Yeah, man, some people are checked out because you're primarily talking about your own stuff. I called that out. I said that was going to happen, and I'm cool. I'm cool with that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not knocking it. I got a company to run, though, at the end of the day, and it would be, let me say this, it would be very irresponsible for me to focus so much on what everybody else is doing and commentating on that, when I have a company that's in as high demand and I have employees that I got to keep working. I just don't have the time for that. Like, literally, it's not enough time in the day, and my employees can speak to this and just how hard I work. If I'm not streaming, which is again rare these days anyway, I'm working. Right, I'm doing something, and I pick my battles. I try to hey, chime in on this conversation. Me and I think that's why I love the setup, because we're able to do it like within a pocket of time, and then I move on to something else. Right, so we can do Ripping a Silverback. We can get a bunch of commentary. We can even post clips from that there, but it's like a 1.5 to 2 hour window where I do that, right, once a week, and that's not so bad, as opposed to streaming 7 times a week like I was before, sometimes more, for several hours at a time. This company could not run if that's how I operated. So yeah, it's just, those aren't my companies, right? Like, what Marvel's doing, what DC is doing, what all these other companies are doing. It's like, okay, I have an opinion, here it is, and I kind of go. It's not something to dwell on. I'm not going to be doing interviews and all that based upon that stuff for the most part, just because it's not a proper use of my time. This time I could be spending writing, other business related stuff, other creative related things, and it's just the future, man. So like I said, it'll probably be, I mean, a year from now will be less, right? It'll be less, right? Because I'm not, my goal isn't to, if, for example, if there is a YouTube channel that we're trying to grow the Rippaverse comics channel. And that's by putting stuff out, putting things out. We produce, we'll do streams and stuff there. Not this one, like, because this is like an individual one. I get to fire stuff off, say what's up. I'm very appreciative of everybody that I've met along the way, but I'm a creative guy. This is what I believe God put me on earth to do. Between this and music, like, I need to be producing, like, talking, doing all this. That's great for other people, and I think it does take a certain amount of talent to be interesting enough, which I did at one point, to commentate on folks' stuff. But at the end of the day, being like an actual producer, doing something that's actually manifesting into something else, especially because I spent a long time griping, right, about like stuff that I love. And I'm, now being part of this solution, kind of into this new era. That's where that's the best use of my time. You know what I'm saying? So growing the Rippaverse channel, growing the Rippaverse assets is going to be far more. I care far more about that than growing my own, right? Because like, I'm putting my heart and soul in this, right? And yeah, it'll come upon a time where potentially people are finding out about our various characters or various things that we're doing, and they have absolutely no idea who the hell I am. I'm the owner, just operating, making sure this thing runs smoothly, and I'm writing, but they don't really know me like that because they didn't come here through the commentary or anything. So it's just the way of the future, man. And look, I don't knock anybody for staying there, right? Because that can be very attractive. It's easy money, right? To get on YouTube, talk, give your opinions, be interesting, put on a great show, um, get super chats, direct donations, all that stuff. And if that's something that people do, which many people do, a lot of people in my space do, it's great. It's just not my place to do that. And I think there's other people. If you are there, I could even recommend, like I say, there's people in my space. Definitely, if you're talking about gaming, Ass still chimes in a lot on that. He's streaming every other day. The G&G team streaming literally every day on 15 different goddamn channels that they have, or whatever. I think those guys are going to be better suited for that type of material. My man's Gary, Neurotic, Drinker, all these guys that I know personally, have gotten to know personally over the years. Their primary gig is that, right? And my primary gig is creating something, and people like it, they like it, they love it, they love it, they don't like it, they don't like it, whatever, but it needs to manifest. My time needs to be used to manifest something tangible, especially that amounts to something. And yeah, it is more or less an evolution. Yeah. One says it's a good transition, better than constantly complaining about race swaps. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, it was a time where that was what I did a lot. And yeah, it was cool while I did it, why I did it. But it's like at some point, understanding that I had the ability to create and the business savvy to make it all come together, that was what I needed to be doing. And it kind of hit me. It kind of hit me like that, right? Where I'm in the middle of creating, I could see that this was going to be something, and then when we put it out, it exploded. Like ISOM 1 became this massive success, and I was like, yeah, those days are going to be over really, really quick. And then I tried to, for a little bit, hold on to that. I tried to be as active and realizing like it's impossible for me to be productive and also run a multi-million dollar company. It's impossible. It's just quite literally not doable. Because your time is going to be needed to do other things, and it's not always writing or editing or something like that. It's all right. You got to negotiate. You got to have a conversation with this parcel company. You got to talk to this person, talk to that person, get your staff expanded upon, make sure your staff's feeling good about things, any challenges that come, making sure that they're taken care of, they have tools that they need to succeed, getting the creatives together. Like all that stuff takes time, website stuff, development, and rounding people, like all that stuff takes time, right? And it's just not, I can't stream 5 hours a day anymore. Those days, it's just impossible. I would not, this company couldn't be a thing. So yeah, it's about being a creator at the end of the day for me. And it's not even a new space in comics, perhaps, for me, but my first big introduction to the world in the public sphere was in the creative stuff. And that was obviously when I first started my channel. It was, being really, really active in the Dallas hip hop scene, right? And my first big break on YouTube, though that was a big part of it, that got me, a couple of few thousand subs. When it really first blew up was me doing covers, right? And then I had my original music and all that. So in the metal and hardcore scene. So it was always creation stuff. And yeah, I did get another big bump from commentary, right? And it'd be a political or pop culture, comic books, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that was after the fact. That was the latest thing that I did that got me, let's say, an increase in subs, for example, or increase in following. But first, it was the music. It was the music. That was the creativity. Then it was the more political commentary, and then it became the comic book stuff, the pop culture stuff, and all of that. So, but either way, it was about creativity when I first got here, and apparently that's what it's going to be going into my mid-30s and beyond, and creating. So yeah, it's a great, like I said, I'm not mad at anybody for having that position, which is why I wanted to highlight that and talk about it. I think it's an intriguing conversation to have, but it's totally understandable if someone's like, yeah, man, where's the commentary? Why aren't you doing reviews? That's what you're interested in. That's what you came here for. Live debates with people about dumb shit. Like, that's what someone came here for. Not knocking if because that I'm either not doing that anymore, or because I'm not doing it as frequently, right? They would rather they're just not as interested or intrigued by what's happening here. I don't think anybody should be shat upon for that. So yeah, it's just a lot of stuff to do, a lot of shit to do, and there's that. All right. Student of God said, pull up Doug's tweet about not falling for the social media trap. Yeah, I guess we can come back to this here in a bit, because yeah, that was a great. I did see that tweet. I did a video also about one of his. I mean, he's been firing on all cylinders. Let me see. I know what you're talking about. I saw it the other day. Here it is. And it kind of speaks to some of the things that we're talking about now. So yeah, just because it's in a vein of some of the things that we're discussing, let's go through it. And Doug says, Doug of Iconic Comics, creator, Soul Finder, says, avoid the social media trap. As a young creator, I often see established men who urge young people to essentially prioritize an ungodly amount of time on social media in front of crowds, when what is really needed is solitude. And yeah, it's like social media is a tool. It's a useful one too, a very, very useful one. But you have to use it in a way, if you're going to be effective and in growing your business or providing whatever it is that you're selling. It does require work, especially if you're doing something creative, right? And so social media should be a tool. It should be an extension of some of the things that you're doing, but it should not be the end all, and it shouldn't be your primary focus. And also, it's how you use it, right? Is that having that active social media presence? I think anybody that has a company has to do that, right? But it doesn't need to be maybe in streaming for 5 hours at a time, right? Every day. Like that's not an effective use of your time. You can have a presence there without making that be what you do, because that's what he's referring to, where you basically become a social media creator, not a business owner, or if you have a comic, or if you're selling music or whatever you're selling, a creator. You're a social media guy. So that now you're crossing over into the TikToking, the YouTubing, Instagramming stuff, and that's not what you're doing, right? If that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. Cool, whatever. But that's the trap. The trap you fall in is, oh, now you're a social media guy, right? You're a YouTuber, and you're not actually a comic book creator. You're not actually a music producer. You're not actually an artist, or you're not actually, because you're spending far more time doing that. And yes, there's folks that get led astray on that. So he's nailing it there. Most young people need to be Tony Stark in a cave building an Iron Man suit Most young people need to be Rocky, training in the mountains away from the noise and completely focus on preparation for a major battle ahead. It is more important to isolate yourself from online world to gain intellectual and creative human capital than it is to metaphorically sing Jimmy Crack Corn like a goof on YouTube. Well, yeah, because again, if you're doing that and that's your primary thing, you're not producing, you're not creating, you're not using your time as effectively as you possibly could. So beating on your craft is something that absolutely has to happen, and figuring things out, right? Because this is a business element. Doug has talked about this many times. I've talked about it all the time. We got a channel now over at Creator Bidness that you have to consider, and it takes a lot of work, right? It takes a lot to work, and it's a lot that you don't see that goes into, for example, with our volume or even their volume with Iconic, because they sell a lot of comics, right? And they have a big presence, especially with their other properties, right? And a country like Japan. That's a lot of work that goes into that. That's not it. Hey, I create thing, email guy, and thing is now on shelf. That's not how this works, right? There is a whole laundry list of things that have to get done in order for you to get to that point. And that's often, I think, what happens, where you get folks that aspire to go be great and aspire to do great things, but what they're looking at as far as someone else's accomplishments is the end game, right? They're looking at, oh, well, this person is now here. They have landed here, and they have no idea of what it took to get to that point in the grind that's associated with it, right? So, yeah, this is going to take a lot of work, and being a jester, it isn't really conducive to that. And I've told people this a million times, and I don't think folks understand it. Views, streams do not equal sales. Never have. It may help you, but there's more to it, and you know there's more to it because there can be people that have less viewership than you and outsell you, sell circles around you, right? There may be people that are more popular than you on social media, get more viewership on videos, on their social media posts, they get more likes that you outsell. It happens all the time. It's happening right now. There are people that have a less social media presence than I do, right? As far as like views and shit like that outsell me. There are people that are bigger and following, have more views, clicks, streams, and stuff like that I outsell, right? So it's not a direct one-by-one anyway. So this is why I keep saying it's a tool. It should not be the goal. The goal is not to, unless that is your goal. If your goal is to be a YouTuber and just commentate and talk to people all the time and interact, great. That's your thing. But don't confuse that thing like, oh, I hit it big. I got 1,000 views on a video that meant 1,000 people is going to buy. We're going to reach in their pockets voluntarily and then purchase your items. It doesn't work like that, right? It's a myth. People telling you that it's a myth. It does not work like that. I can't remember if it was Doug. Somebody was talking about that. It might not have been Doug. I don't think it was actually. It was somebody else that I saw a post talking about. I think was it Jeff Johns and Mark Miller that had a YouTube chat or whatever, because Mark has his own channel, and I think it may have got 10,000 views, right? And obviously there's YouTubers that do comic book stuff that will get more views than them. Does anybody in their right mind think that with anything that Mark Miller puts out, you can outsell him? No, you can't. You can't. None of y'all are outselling Mark Millar. You're not. You might get more views than him on YouTube, though. You might get more likes on your social media posts, though, but you're not outselling him. Anything that he puts out. That's because it's not like that. It's not I get all this viewership, I get all these clicks. and therefore now I get all the sales. It can help maybe put some eyes on your stuff. But that's why I'm saying use it as a tool. Don't use it as the end all. Like I have to be this big YouTuber with all these likes and views and streams in order for me to sell said thing. This is not how it works. Shout out Edwin. I see Edwin's in the chat. There he says with social media, the noise to signal ratio is high. Correct. His parasocial relationships become more important than storytelling art. Yeah, it is. And a lot of it is noise. And I think that's a talent, right? And whether that's you or that's someone that you hired part of full time, I think that anybody that has these big aspirations needs to have someone that has the ability to cut through the noise and can identify what's like a legitimate interest and intrigue in what you're selling versus noise, like he just said. You know what I mean? Because a lot of it, most of it's noise. Most of it's just it's contained and it feels like it's loud, right? You get all these people that are talking about said thing in that little corner of the internet, and you see a post that got a couple of hundred likes, 300 likes, and you can trick yourself into believing that opinion is the opinion. And then you go touch the grass and you go outside and you mention this subject matter, and you will go walk outside. You can go to the racetrack down the street, and nobody will ever had heard about none of that shit that you just talked about, right? It's not the same. A lot of it's nonsense. A lot of it's noise, and it's you got to be able to figure out and have people on your team that understand what of that feedback, I guess, if that's what you're calling it, views, comments, likes, tweets, whatever, engagement, what part of that is useful versus what part of it is like, guys, just a bunch of nonsense. And that's not an easy thing to do. Dan Vance in the chat, shout out. I see my man's Yellow Flash also in the chat. Says, let's take care of Bidness. You know, everybody type Bidness in the chat. Bidness, flood the chat with Bidness right now. You know the rules. So that's what we're talking. Bidness. Shout out Dan and my man's Yellow Flash. Coming soon, Mighty Golden Patriot to River Sand. Really excited about that. All right. He also says, learn and master skills, read good books, figure out far from distractions who you really are at your core and what you stand for before walking out on the digital stages filled with con men and manipulators who do not have your best long-term interest in mind. And I'm glad he used long-term interest. It has become increasingly difficult for people to see beyond the now. And that sometimes that is even in purchasing habits, buyer habits. It's like the attention span, is also a hurdle, if you will, where again, people just are not able to focus and see beyond what's directly in front of them. And sure, you may see something that is tempting of a move for the short term, and long term, it could absolutely derail you. Right. And he's right. The digital stage is filled with a lot of guys that obviously they have their own ulterior motives. And even with the stuff that they tell you that you need to do, it's nonsense. Hogwash. It's not useful. So you're going to, when you start to try to run to, okay, I need to get on, I need to get this social media presence, all that good stuff, you got to be careful. Also says, make yourself a force to be reckoned with off the social media grid before concentrating on salesmanship. If the world is begging you to talk, it's because you'll be better off listening. If the world prods you to join social media parades, it's because the strongest version of yourself is made when you are alone, disciplined, and focused on acquiring new skill sets. And I think I mentioned a little bit of that before. And like social media can be tempting, definitely when you're running through, again, to his point, like these little clicks and stuff. And it's real easy, man, to get dragged into being an unproductive person. It's actually frighteningly like easy to fall into that trap of being an unproductive person. So be careful. Because at the end of the day, work is work. Everyone says, have you already discussed the extent of the revisions to ISOM and Omnibus? I've not purchased anything from you, but consider this new offering oriented to your work. Okay, glad you brought that up. We did talk about it earlier, but we have a little more people here, so it's worth bringing up. So yes, so the adjustments. Let's talk about it. So we have obviously ISOM number one, Alpha Core number one, Yaira number one. All of them have new letters. We got a new lettering team for the sake of consistency. We want to make sure that they're able to make their presence known. And so they went through it, and even some of the stuff they did, obviously, like on Yaira, touched it up, tried to make some improvements to it, really. So all new letters there. With Alpha Core and Yaira, some visual touch-ups, not many, very minor, right? That you'll see. For consistency's sake, right? Where we can make some improvements. And we felt there was like some errors that were in there. Like we got all those kind of cleaned up to the best of our ability. In those, the one that went the most through the most significant change is ISOM number one. ISOM number one, we have a new colorist. Okay. And Sebastian Chang is going forward going to be the ISOM colors for the series. Okay. Now, obviously, we're on good terms with Gabe. Was voluntarily when he bounced. He has Big Man Comics at blew up for him. He's been working with Dean Cain. He's been working with a lot of other guys. That's his focus right now. Sitting here coloring 100 pages plus pages worth of material just isn't really in the cards because he has his own business to take care of. So we went and found our new colorist here. And also for consistency's sake, we wanted to make sure that people can see that, because this is also some of the feel of ISOM number three, because it's the same colors. He familiarized himself with the work as well through ISOM number one. ISOM number one was created with only a handful of us being here. Okay, it was myself. I had a couple of guys that were part-time, but obviously Gabe, Cliff. It was a thing that I had some passion to put out, but I didn't have that robust team that I have right now. I didn't grow into that yet, because I was investing my own money to really get this done. Then it blew up, right? And because, again, this wasn't a crowdfunded project. This wasn't, hey, ISOM made $3.7 million, and now we're going to make new stuff and finish out the book. No, ISOM was already done when we put it up for the pre-order campaign. So a lot of the new editors that we added on, Kanan as an art director, none of that was present with ISOM number one. So obviously there's a lot of like things that would have got pointed out, places that things that would have improved, really told the story a little in a better way if like they got produced today. So with the new team being here, we had an opportunity to try to have those improvements. It's not like a complete overhaul of the book, right? Obviously, the scene is still the same per se. It conveys the same message, but there's some improvements. You see some improvements to the art getting refined just a little bit more. Obviously, in addition to the colors there, would it being a completely new colors. So yeah, it went through the most significant changes, not so much that it's like a different book, but it went through the most significant changes, got refined in terms of some of the inks are concerned with Cliff, and that is going to be in this book. So I'm glad you asked that. Because yeah, it's not the same can be said, or it's not the same that can be said for ISOM, or excuse me, for Yaira #1 and Alpha Core #1, but ISOM #1, it did go through like a remastering, right? Which is what we're calling it. And yeah, man, really excited. Share the sneak peek. This is here if you want to look at it. Definitely, if you have the book in your hand, and maybe you got one to cover A, B, or C. Maybe you got the Creators Edition, which you can still get at Rippaverse.com if you become a member of ISOM. And you'll see that this looks different. Background looks a little different. Colors are different. And yeah, we made some improvements where we could. So yeah, it is different in that regards, making some improvements to it. Not a completely new book though. And yeah, it's just, again, it was a different era back then. Though 2.5 years doesn't seem like long, it feels like an eternity for us in terms of the team looks just miles different. Improvements in your process, and you want core books to have core and appearance. That's a reasonable goal. Yeah, and that's a big thing, especially with the new colors, right? It's we didn't want it to be so jarring, and eventually, yeah, the ill-advised arc is going to be its one book, right? And we want there to be consistency there. So the same will be said for ISOM #2. There will be an opportunity, as Sebastian will have, to make that go through as remastering and new colors and stuff like that, because we want there to be some consistency there with the work that people are seeing. Because while they're both great in their own rights, they are, especially with the colors, with between Sebastian and our man's Gabe, they're just different colors. So yeah, you can grab this at Rippaverse.com. Let's just talk about that. I'm gonna get to some of these let me get to the super chats first, and then we'll talk about like some of the things that are part of the collection. I love that we talk about business related things, talked about even channel related stuff. That was fun. Lazarus with a 10. Hey Eric, I want to come up with some great stories too to inspire future generations. Not as gifted as some people and only have been good as a blue collar worker. You have any suggestions? Well, you got to get learned. I mean, that's just kind of how that works. If you're talking about doing something creative and you want to come up with a good story, there's a lot of material out there. Nothing beats reading. However, look at some of the more classic works and just read. See what some of the best we're doing. Soak in that knowledge is the best thing that you can do. And again, I don't know what it is that you're meaning. If you're talking about from the art perspective, or you're talking about from just like writing or whatever it is that you are doing, but somebody started. I mean, at some point they gave it a shot, and I think that's what you're going to eventually have to do. If the audience rejects it, they reject it. If they love it, they love it. But to what we were talking about with Doug earlier, like as he, that sentiment, and we're echoing it. You got to beat on your craft, man. You got to beat on your craft. Brandon, this is an inside joke. Says, did Eric Thomas ever get back to you? He did. He's off doing great things. Shout out, Brando. 55 months. Mr. Toxicity says, please give us more Horsemen. He don't have to operate in Florida's problem. Please just bring him back. Well, Horseman isn't going anywhere. I mean, it was just a one shot, right? It wasn't part of a series, and we're going to release books like that. For sure. Firebird asks, by the way, it's a good question. It says, will future ISOM 1 reprints have the new art colors corrections? Yeah, but that would be a reprint. We still have plenty of our first editions, as well as the initial reprint, the big reprint that we got for cover C, which is our reprintable cover. It was a long time before we get rid of those like that. So like all of them. So maybe after that happens, yeah, we'll consider doing that. It wouldn't be something that we release like by itself, though. I wouldn't just try to like, hey, here's a new cover with ISOM 1 and it's just the remastered version. I wouldn't do that. It would need to be part of something like a collection, like what we did right here. But yeah, it was a one shot. And it does not mean that you're going to see the last of the Horsemen, but I love to hear that there's a demand for the Horsemen. The sales speak for themselves. Okay. People are interested in the character. So we're going to make sure that we can expand upon that. Chuck's worked on some other stuff. We'll have some announcements soon as well. But yeah, he's not one of those characters. I don't think any character that we create is like, even if it was like, okay, we did a book, didn't work out, people weren't really gravitating towards it. Maybe this character makes more sense as a character on the side, though. We wouldn't like just completely say, "Oh, that's done." You'll never see him again. I just don't think that's unnecessary. You know. Wrongful Rage with a 10 says, quick story. There was once a law pope that did unlawful coke, and lo and behold, he tripped his prick on the toes 304, allegedly. Carry on. Thank you for that poem. Wrongful Rage with a 10. Thank you. Larry Park with a 5 says, the journey is much more fulfilling than the destination. Be willing to lose in order to learn. Prepare to win. Don't let a win overtake you. Yeah, I mean, you got to be willing. Look, it's not all fun and games, man, with anything that you do. Okay, it's going to be some tedious aspects. There's going to be some aspects of stuff that you don't want to do. It's not all fun. It's not all, hey, I create, people love me. It just doesn't work like that. It's a grind. It's going to take a lot of effort, but it is fulfilling. I mean, this is what I'm doing right now is one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever had the opportunity of doing for many different reasons. Obviously, the creativity aspect, I get a lot out of that, right? I love to write. I love to create, love making sure that universe Bible expands and working on my own stuff and like an independent space is really special to me. But the process is as well, we employ a lot of people that work good paying jobs. And I get a lot out of that as well from a fulfilling standpoint, because that was a position that I never thought that myself would be in at this young of an age. Because I've spoke about, even with comics, the economic like things surrounding it that I've always had a problem with. And now I'm in a position to really be part of the solution, man. And that's important. That's important. Appreciate that. We got $120 total for my man, Professor X. 2 back-to-back donos, super chats. Appreciate that. I'm going to read these right now. Finally was able to get caught up on Gooding, Ripazine 2, and Horseman. I really like what you're doing with Ripazine. Definitely more Shisha and Salvage's stories. We'll have some announcements pertaining to both of those. We got the customer feedback. We put out our polls soon. And I'm glad you got caught up. It's cool linking up with you as well. Where were we at? Was that San Antonio? Man, all these cons are moving together. Lillian section is small but fun to go through with little nuggets that got me thinking back on the stuff I've been reading. I'll save my thoughts on Horseman till the spoiler stream, but well done overall. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Mike has bad knees for 25 months. Has being a creator changed the way you critique? Well, no, because I've always been a creator, right? This isn't necessarily anything new. That said, time. I think as far as the spot that I'm in now, which differs from the spot that I was in before, it doesn't change the way. It's just that certain things are not worth like firing up videos time and time again and talking about it, right? So it doesn't change the way at all. It's just, I guess it does. In that capacity, it does, because that manifested itself in the videos and streams and stuff like that. And just with me not having the time, it's not the most effective use of my time. So now it's like, I don't even think it's worth even bringing it up. Right. So yeah, it's nothing's changed but the time. As far as how I see things, there's gonna be things I enjoy, things I don't enjoy for sure. But yeah, is this worth saying in a video time and time again and doing videos about it over and over? No, not anymore. Those days are over with. It used to be an effective use of my time at the time when I was unproductive as far as the creative stuff. But with me being productive, it just doesn't make sense. An emergency Rippercast complete with a flashing siren says, man. Yeah, it's just not worth it, because I just think about things that I would have to stop doing, right? I know just what I do day to day, and and like I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm trying to run people down, I'm scouting, I'm whatever I'm doing, and it's just, oh man, I would have to stop that in order to just be firing up streams and shit, and just not worth it. It's just not worth it. But I will say this, and it doesn't really have much to do with what you, not everything to do with what you said, but it's in the same vein, similar vein, I guess. Like, I have a higher appreciation for professionalism, for sure. And as you guys know, I made a vow to myself, my audience, my customers, my employees that engaging in tomfoolery is not a productive use of my time, so I will not engage in it. I would much rather highlight, if I am to be interactive, the folks that are doing great things, the folks that are customers of ours, that are big fans of ours, and highlighting our own stuff instead of firing shots back at people that despise me or anything of that nature. I gained a much better appreciation for that because it keeps you in check as far as maintaining that efficiency, because there's only so much time in the day. And I feel like every day it's not enough. It's not. But you see you reap benefits in more ways than one when you maintain that level of professionalism, right? So and it made a lot of people mad, right? It made a lot of people pissed off because I went from doing like monetize your haters and doing all that stuff back in the gap when I was a commentator, right? And not necessarily a creator. And people love that, right? And they expect me to be interactive. And now it's like, even if you hate me, hell, more, not even, especially if you hate me, I just won't engage. And I'm really liberal with the block, right? If someone's trying to troll or something like that, I'll just get rid of you. I'm like, I'm not interested in that. Moving on. Not a good use of my time. I'd rather dedicate that brain power to something else that's going to be far more conducive to the future that I'm trying to build here or build towards. So yeah, but going back to my point, I kind of went on a tangent there. The professionalism has greater benefits than not being that, right? The customers see that, number one, and they see how dedicated you are to your brand, and they're more likely to support what you're doing. Okay. They appreciate that. They appreciate when they see someone, okay, you are a producer, you're getting out there and you're producing instead of wasting time doing other stuff. So they see that, and it also has those benefits just with some of the business relationships that I've had to build over, right? Let's be honest, like it's not, I don't say the most professional, it's not professional at all for a CEO, right? For an owner of this multi-million-dollar company to be engaging in some like tomfoolery, right? You should be above that at that point. Definitely when you're seeing all success. And people are obviously more inclined to work with those types of people, right? Because they get a level of professionalism that I think is just that people expect. So again, not necessarily having to do with what you said, but I reaped a lot of benefits from that vow and just saying, look, man, let's just be a professional. Doesn't mean I have to be without an opinion. It doesn't mean I have to have, like, I can't have fun. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that use your time effectively. That's it. Use your time effectively. Like I look at make dollars make sense, and time is money. And so it's like when I go do something or when I say something publicly, it's like, okay, could this time be better used somewhere else? And if it can, or doing something else, and if it can, then that's what I need to be focused on. Chief Critical with a 10 says, hell, Ripper. Question: besides Zaylen, will we have characters be staged anywhere other than Flores Park? Sometimes the world feels small because everyone seems to be in this one city. Keep doing you. Well, yeah, absolutely. There's other cities that will be entertaining, and we'll be having those conversations very soon. But yeah, I mean, we wanted to make sure that we established a place first, and that takes some time. It takes multiple titles in order for that to feel like a living, breathing place. We needed to put a lot of work in it. So, Flores Park is where we started, but that's not the only place, for sure, going forward. David Nelson with a 10 says, thanks, Eric. Because of you, I'm not editing at the editing stage of my 590 page tabletop role playing game player's manual, Moons of Nitseria. Wow. 590 pages. Shout out to you, big homie. Woo! The Eggman stream, eternalize your posterity to always go back when I want. That's all that matters, says Dan Vance. Yeah, exactly. Those streams are still up. If those were times that you wanted to get a laugh at, yes, those monetized, those are still up there, right? You can go see those. Just now, maybe not the best use of my time. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure with a 10 says, keep releasing and making books, Eric, and the haters will continue to lick urinals and smoke crack. Also, will you have a bigger booth at MegaCon this time? Yes, much bigger. That was a mistake. We tried to warn them. Sometimes you got to show, not tell, because they won't heed to your warnings. But we told them, like, hey, guys, we have this big demand. Maybe get us a bigger booth. I guess they wanted to see it in action, and now fire marshals had to get called on us because our lines are impeding with everything. So, yes, this time around, we do have a bigger booth at MegaCon. It's going to be a great time. Great time. Thank you. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure. American Legend said my definition of professionalism is prompt, reliable, and consistent service. Yeah. I do this professionally. I own a publishing company, and yeah, it takes work. All right. Let's talk about the Trinity real quick, because I haven't got around to it. There's two versions of the book. There's the hardcover and the softcover. The hardcover is oversized. You've seen our traditional size books. I wish I had like an example that I could show you, but I don't next to you. But you've seen the traditionally sized comic books that we've put out. The softcover version will be that. They'll have the same materials, obviously, but the softcover version will be that, and we'll keep it around for a little bit as well. So if we need to reprint the softcover, we will. Very soon, though, we are going to announce the hardcover version as final prints, and that's going to be more or less a collectible. So you're going to want to grab that if you wanted that, because we're moving on to a new collection or whatever. But the softcover will be available for you. The hardcover, though, is an oversized copy of the book, so it's way bigger as far as the dimensions are concerned than the regular comic. Right, so you're talking 9 by 12 in comparison to what the other ones have put out. It's a big book, big book, big book. Straw Hat Guy says in Trump voice, we had the biggest lines. You wouldn't believe it. Yeah, it's true. But no, different books. Well, same materials, different size books, different dimensions. So hardcover's available. Soft covers available. You get either of those. We'll announce the prints for the hardcover first very soon. Also, hardcovers take a lot more time to produce in comparison to like the paperback stuff. So this collection, will end long before don't have an exact date yet, but it'll end before the fulfillment start date. Our estimated fulfillment start date is going to be in March. Estimated. It'll be around that time. If it's a little after a week or so, we'll keep you posted. But there's a chance that it may be before, and that's what we're going to push for to try to get this out in February. But it will end right as well, definitely with the prints and stuff. So we'll end that collection soon enough. We'll be moving on to something else. So this will be closed down probably for maybe even like a month before this thing was over with. As far as no, a month before it fulfills. Okay, so it'll look a little different from what our other collections have looked like, and that's mainly because of the fact that the hardcovers just take a minute. Someone asked in the chat a good question. If this volume 1, the Rippaverse Trinity, what's volume 2 gonna look like? It will look like ISOM 2, and if Yaira 2 and Alpha Core 2, or if they, let's say if there was like I don't know, an annual or some other story that was told in between that was centered around those characters, they would go in that book. So yeah. But we also got, if you're not interested in grabbing those, maybe you're a person that doesn't, really do the collected works. If you got the individual copies and you are a fan of the work, well, we have 3 new items for you. We have the Rippaverse Trinity t-shirt. We have the Rippaverse Trinity long sleeve. And we also have a new poster, which I really, really like. All of these were done by Kanan, colored by our man's Marcos Martin. So go check that out. Get this poster right now. It is live, in addition to the t-shirts, or the t-shirt and the long sleeve. Of course, we have a couple of different bundles. If you want soft fan hardcover, you want a merch pack, you can grab that. And if you want, of course, all of it to save a little money, you can grab that as well. So those are a few different bundles. So yeah, go grab those. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you guys grabbing those. Seen a lot of new customers said, okay, we're going to grab this. This is my jumping on point. I love the collected works. We got you. We got you, bros. All right. Antoine Hayes with a 15 months says, shout out to you, EJ. What are the chances you make a appearance at either LA Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con 2025? Would love to get you on the Icon Presents podcast. Love what you're doing with that, by the way. We don't have anything in the works yet with either of those. Again, it's a lot of this stuff is based on like definitely with us wanting to get like the booth size and all that stuff. If we're gonna have like a physical presence and not like me, kind of like what I did before, which that was great. I was at Gabe's booth a little bit, and I spoke on a couple of panels. I did some signings with CGC as well, and that's cool. I like doing that. There's nothing, I'm not against that, but I would love to have a bigger presence to where we can break some team members out. We can be selling our own books. But in order to do that, a lot of that stuff comes with relationship. And I'll be completely honest, we have zero relationship with the guys that run like the Comic-Con in San Diego. So a lot of that stuff is political, and I don't mean political, by the way, in like political discrimination or something like that. I'm not talking about that. It's political in there's a lot of favoritism. There's a lot of, okay, these are people that they've known for X amount of years, and no matter what their draw is, they're going to get the better positioning. They're going to get the ones that get the preferential treatment. It's just a lot of politics involved in a lot of these cons. And I'm not like breaking news there. I think anybody that's dealt with these knows that it's a lot that goes into it. So I don't have anything in the works right now. There's things that we've been working on. I can say that much. And yeah, if we can get out there, great. We'd love to do it. So there's a chance, absolutely. It's nothing that we've kind of like really set in stone or got some major movement on. So yeah, that is where we are at. With that, next con we'll be in February. We'll be in Florida. Really excited for that. All right. What else we got here? Let me pull this up real quick. Okay, great. All right, so Remaster of ISOM. You guys know about that. We showed that off with some things, some other things. Something else I wanted to mention. Blood Roofs still doing great. Thanks to you all right there. 10,200 copies sold, over $564,000 in total sales. We'll be announcing those numbers soon, very, very soon. Achromatic Chronicles Green was what I wanted to bring up. That hit a milestone of what, 18? Hold on. Pull that up real quick. 2,000. We're almost at 2,100. Maybe we are. I haven't updated the numbers here. I'm not logged in either. So let me make sure that I'm not just making some shit up. Hold on just a second. There we go. What the hell? Come on. Get some live numbers. Right now, Achromatic Chronicles here. And it is at, yes, it is at 2,100. We got to get a cash updated. I will make sure that our team gets on that really quick. But we are at 2,100 books sold, 2,117 to be exact. Man, what a campaign this has been. You still got some time to grab I'm looking on the wrong damn thing. That's why y'all don't see me scrolling. Okay, Achromatic Chronicles Green. Of course, we have 3 different covers. Collector's edition. We got the connected cover as well. And we got a reprint of of blue if you want that. Obviously, the first main print of Achromatic Chronicles Green. We got stress balls. We got CGC Signature Series copies. We got a coloring book that you can grab there as well. So we got all kinds of cool things that are available to you all that you can go grab. Got some bundles in there as well. So our man's Jay, I'm really proud, really took it seriously that we, of course, or he's expecting that we, as a publisher with Rippaverse, handle our business. And that's what we did. Bidness. That's what we did. And I'm glad it's doing so well. We still got plenty of time here. So go grab those at rippaverse.com right now. Achromatic Chronicles Green. Whew. And Jay's in the chat. Yeah, he did. He says we passed 2,100. Big shout out. Man, much love. So go get green. If you didn't get blue the first time around, you can get the new covers of blue, or you can get the Rippaverse reprint copy of it over at rippaverse.com. So thanks to all of y'all for showing love to our man Jay Drunk 3PO. Awesome dude, man. Awesome dude, man. All ages book. I want to make sure you grab that. But yeah, so I would have for sure accepted, and I just want to briefly talk about this. Really organic as a company, okay? There's no characters that I'll ever try to like force upon an audience, okay? If the audience said they want a character and they're in high demand, we're going to make sure that we accommodate them. It's not to say that we're always going to make every individual happy with it, but we will strive to do the best that we can. Audience demanded those 3 characters, and they became our Trinity. And it wasn't because of anything that I did other than create them. It's the audience's response. And look, could there be a chance that September of next year, 2027 or something, I don't know, we come up with a new character and that character ends up being the most popular character that we've ever created, much like in Marvel's lifetime? We know that Spider-Man is their most popular character, but he came after a lot of the guys, the Fantastic Four and all those guys. he predates him or they predate him. So it can happen for sure. There may be a new character that catches on with the audience, and if it does, it does. Well, that's just how it's going to be. But right now, three most popular characters are Isam, Yaira, and Alpha. It's even with merchandise, all that good stuff. It's those are demands when we get like customer feedback. They're demanding more ISOM. They're demanding Yaira. They're demanding more Alpha Core, and it's really really cool to see. And it was also fun to do the Ripazines, as you guys know, because that was a way to test some of the characters, and we're coming up with some other ways to test characters as well, without like having to commit to some like massive book. Okay. Because yeah, if I did a Ripazine and Salvage, for example, which didn't happen, if I created Salvage and an audience said, "Oh, it's all right," well, Salvage may pop up every now and then, but is it worth giving him an ongoing series? Maybe not. But well, they responded and they love him, so yeah, we're working on some stuff. But if that didn't happen, or with Saoirse or any upcoming up Ripazine, and the audience is just like they either don't like it or they're like, yeah, it's okay, then that's we kind of make an adjustment. Or rather, we don't maybe pursue it with an ongoing series or even a limited series for that matter. Maybe he's just a character that pops in every now and then. There's going to be those characters. And it's one of the most fun things about all of this. And that's what I'm trying to do. We got the membership stuff is we want to keep it about the stories and the characters, right? I think that's what we do. That and the Iconic Comics with all their brands, doesn't matter whether it's Soul Finder, all that stuff. A lot of their conversations that are happening are pertaining to enthusiasm about the actual books, the characters, and everything associated with it, right? And we've done a great job of that being the case, right? It's not about talking heads all the time. It's not about the personalities of the creators and stuff, which yeah, that helps for sure. But it's not about that, right? A lot of our conversation is centered around the characters, the stories, the nerding out about it, the theories that people have, all of that stuff. And we're even coming up with some creative ways. We got some membership overhauls that we're going to do to really, really facilitate those conversations even more. So because we have that enthusiastic fan base, it's one of the most fun things for me has been, okay, we put something out. What's the audience feedback going to be and how they feel about characters that we put out that are new? Okay. And not everything that we put out is going to be based on a new character or going to have a new character in it. But it is really, really cool and awesome to see. And I love to see that conversation when, okay, Horseman drops and there's a character that gets introduced in Horseman, or Gooding drops and it's the same thing. People are like, oh, Gina's cool or whatever. I like that. I love seeing that type of stuff because you never know. Anybody that thinks they can force a character on you is out of their mind, especially if you're not part of some mega corporate entity, because in that case, you kind of can, right? Doesn't mean it's going to last, but you kind of can like say you're going to get this character whether you want it or not. You don't have that luxury when you're like a smaller company and an independent one. So customers gravitate towards who they gravitate towards, and you never know. You can be confident, and I can say, well, this character, I put my foot in this character, man. I love it, and I think the audience is going to love it. You can have all the confidence in the world, and maybe the audience is either with it or they don't like it. Okay. So you never know. You never know with those things. So it is fun to see who people are gravitating towards, man. I love seeing that stuff. I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Lord Slugger Mastermind says, what is good? It's been a while since I saw you live. Question: what is your direction on launching your first game on a gaming platform like PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam? I personally don't trust them after everything. Look, that bridge is not one that we're even ready to cross. You know, we're building these characters. We've taken advantage of some out of print opportunities. We got statues. We got other stuff that we're doing. We've done our animations. Try to expand our fan base. But you never know with these things, man. And it's the genre, or not genre, or industry. Gaming is like the most popular entertainment industry now. And would I love to be there? Absolutely. Because I'm a gamer myself. But we got some time before we get there. I have a feeling some opportunities present themselves. Yes, be game. So I haven't quite thought of, well, let's say this. I treat it, my principles with it will be the same as my principles with everything else. Okay, that we do. It had to be done right. Now, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfect. Doesn't mean that, hell, everybody's going to like it. Maybe it's not the greatest thing since sliced bread. Maybe it is. Who knows? But there are a set of principles, and we hold tight to those, even if we were doing a video game. So I'd approach it the same exact way. Same way. Professor X was 17 months off topic. Have you looked into the new Elden Ring, Night Rain? Seemed like it'll be up your alley since caught. Yes. I did a tweet about that. I'm all about that. It's been really cool, man, to see. And when I saw that, only thing I didn't like is that there's like, yeah, I think you can upgrade them, but they're kind of forcing you into these, like, what is it, 8 characters, I think. I wish they would have went more of a customization as far as you create your own thing, or maybe those characters were classes, right? I'm because I'm all about creative character stuff. But yeah, I'm all in on a co-op Elden Ring. One of my favorite games that have been released over the last several years. I love it. And to be able to put that in a more cooperative experience that's not, hey, summon this guy to go whoop this boss's ass. Well, this is a team effort, and a fundamental game is built around that. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. But I do. That was my one thing that I was like, man, it would have been really, really cool if there was more creative character. And like I said, I have no problem with the classes or anything and all that, but unfortunately, they made it to where it's like these set heroes or characters that you're dealing with. And wasn't a fan of that. But I'm stoked. American Legends just became a new member. Shout out. Appreciate that, homie. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, I'm all over that. I'm sure that's a game that I'll be playing. Will I be streaming it? I don't fucking know. Like I say, man, I whenever that drops, I'm not even gonna have the fucking time to be doing that. We'll see. Sliced bread is pretty great, says Jordan. She's not wrong. She is not wrong. Nice sliced sourdough, man. You can't go wrong with it. Okay. All right, guys, I'm gonna get to work. Appreciate y'all hanging out. Just wanted to touch base with you guys, tell you guys a little bit about the Trinity, Rippaverse Trinity Volume 1. You can go grab that at rippaverse.com. Go grab that in the description. We'd appreciate that. We thank you all for that continued support as well. Thank you. Thank you. But I got to get out of here, man. I got to get to work, man. It's a lot of stuff that I got, to do. But I got to bounce. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. Maybe Monday stream like we do. I need to get 4K and Sake back on the rails for one show a week. We'll see. Maybe we just stream and shoot shit. We'll see. All right, guys, I got to bounce. Let me get to work. Till next time, y'all be easy, man. Peace out.